Hey, everyone, and welcome to Recharge the podcast. I'm David Coe. I cannot believe that we have already reached the end of season 2. Crazy. And I am so grateful to all of our amazing guests for sharing their wisdom and their stories. But there was this one key element for good mental health that literally everyone talked about. Do you remember what that is? It's sleep. That sleep is essential for recharging your battery. And with the holidays fast approaching, and all of us here at Recharge wanted to put together a little end of the year gift for each and every one of you. It's a thank you. It's a special compilation episode featuring our guests' top tips for a good night's sleep. First up, the one and only Matthew McConaughey. Hi, Matthew. You narrated on Calm,
Yeah.
most popular sleep story that's out there called Wonder. And before I came to Calm, we were falling asleep to that, my wife and I, for quite some time. And when I looked at some of the stats, I got to tell you recently, they were astounding. And it's not the only thing you've done with us, but this in particular really kind of showed the impact that you've had. And thank you. Where we've had over 25 million sessions around Wonder, which
Wow.
equates to over 500 million minutes. I had to look at that a couple of times to make sure I was like, wow, 500 million minutes. And I let that kind of sink in terms of,
Wow.
yeah, the impact. And so for many people, even here in Silicon Valley, they brag about the lack of sleep and they use that as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Right. But we know, and you've talked about this, the science is clear. Getting a good night's sleep is really crucial. Physical, your mental, how it's all tightly linked together. And trying to get 9.5 hours is great. Has that always been something that you've been able to achieve? How has your relationship
Yeah.
with sleep changed over the years?
Let me tell you, it's a good question because when I grew up in my household, sleep was sin.
Huh.
I mean, if it was daylight and you were horizontal with your eyes closed, what are you doing? Get
Wow.
your backside up. I saw my dad sleep. I was up before my dad one time. I
No.
saw him asleep. It was 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I got up early and I went by the kitchen by the bedroom and I saw him asleep and it was shocking. I went to my brothers. I was like, Dad's asleep. So in our household, sleep was no, get it later. So maybe I'm making up for that raising now because I am a 9.5 hour guy. And that the old adage of no, sleep when you're dead. Sleep. Well, we're kind of learning that if you don't get to sleep now, you're probably going to die earlier. So you buying time now, or you buying time later? And
Well
if you
said.
get more sleep now, I'd like to hope that and believe that there's science that says we're going to buy more time later if we force it with more sleep now. Also, thank goodness, my wife, who's like, she says she would rather, there's things that she'll do in the morning that she won't wake me because she was like, I would rather do these and be around you when you've had your 9.5 hours than you get up and do these and me have to be around you when you've only had 7. So I am, I'm definitely better on my 9 and my 9.5. That's where my cycle really works and where I'm the best guy to be. I'm a better guy to be around all day. I promise you that.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true for most of us, and we've come out with an app, Calm Sleep, and it's all around kind of putting routines. It's dedicated to sleep. Is part of your routine to get a good 9 hours, getting a nap during the day, or are there other routines that you kind of use to make sure that you get a good 9 to 9.5 hours of sleep per night?
One of the things I do is I'll try and start my workday at 10,
Hmm.
meaning so I can get up at 8:30, have an hour and a half, mosey through my morning, catch up, or catch the kids before they go to school, and then have that hour and a half before I start now let's go to work. If I can pull that off. Sometimes, look, it's got to be boom. It's 6 a.m. I've just flown to New York. I landed at midnight. I got to get up at 6. I got to have to bulldog through this. I'm not going to get my 9.5. We're going to definitely make sure I'm hydrated at those times, and power down a whole lot of water. the day before, night before, and then and the full next day. And sometimes you got to go. I'm going to power through it, and I see them again. If I'm going to bulldog through work and I have a schedule that's 6 a.m. until 10 at night before I even get home for 4 days in a row, I look at that fifth and I go, but Friday, I've got nothing Saturday. That's the time I'll catch up. So if I know that I have that coming, I find it easier to have more reserve in the tank to handle these 4 days where I'm going to have to just hard charge it on 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours sleep, and then look at that pocket. Where in the afternoon in there can I pop in for 15 minutes just to where maybe can I if I don't have a nap, where can I go break a quick sweat?
Yeah.
That's another great reset, just to flatten everything out and get the world looking lateral again instead of so vertical. You know what I mean? Of all the
Yeah. Yeah.
So exercise or a nap, and sometimes they can do the same thing. And sometimes I'm guilty of going to break a sweat and get a workout instead of taking a nap, or maybe the best thing I need to do was to take a nap and not go be more active.
Well, I love how you shared that example because so many of us at times just feel kind of cemented that you have to get the same amount of hours per night. But the way you just framed it is so great. I love when you talk about your morning routine and in one thing in particular, how you deliberately choose a lens, an approach
Mm.
uh, a day ahead. And I thought that was really interesting. Specifically, you say, if I can choose an outfit, I can damn sure choose my outlook, right? And I was like, right on. I was like, that is so good. We don't talk about that enough. And I love the idea of that with thoughtful intention. And
Yeah.
so, my question to you is, how do you choose these different outlooks depending on where you at or what type of
Yeah.
agenda do you have, right? How did you
So
come up with that?
it starts with the projection the night before. What does my day look like tomorrow?
Hmm.
How much sleep do I need to get tonight to wake up in time where I can get up and not rush out of bed, but get up and move at a deliberate pace to my morning? And I want to have tea. I want to take a shower. I want to do this. I'm going to be on camera. I'd like to be up for at least an hour and a half. No, do I want to get exercise? No, I'll get that later in the day, or no, I won't. But let's get up in time where we don't have to rush. And let's make sure we get to bed early enough to get enough sleep where I'm going to feel good, as good as I can. And then projecting where the day is going. Where is there gaps? Where, or when you and I are done here, do I have 30 minutes before my next thing, or do I have 5 minutes? And I'm looking at that. That's already, because it's planned out my next day, there's already a musical meter there. I
Yeah.
know where it's back to back to back to back to back. And then I know where there's a bridge in the song. Camilla, my wife, does her best to remind all of us for the first hour of the day, no devices. Don't let that bedside, and I'm guilty, I have to
Love
do it
that.
sometimes, but letting the world stimulus that came in last night bombard you upon howdy to the day is, if you can pull off not doing that, I think it's a very important thing. My favorite day, if I have an ideal morning every day, I have my tea and sit down for 30 minutes with a puzzle.
Oh,
It's a heavenly start to the day, to just get the pace. A little bit of brain action starts happening, and you gotta, but it's simple. There's no clock, no
that's so
speed
good.
out, no, just a few, maybe get 12 pieces in there, and then that started a pace to how my brain's working. That can continue through the day. And again, I've always like, if we can, that's why I like to show up on time. That way I don't have to rush.
I love that. I too actually wake up and not try to look at my device right away. And it's been something I've really worked on, but I haven't had that puzzle. And so I'm gonna try that and try that going forward. That's great. Thank you for that piece of advice there. All right, Chloe. I got to ask you, we've talked about you doing all, obviously being in the sport, your mental rise to fame, kind of what you do as a CEO, a co-founder. You like to unwind and what are ways that you unwind?
Yeah, ever since I moved out of home and like my parents aren't taking care of me anymore, I'm like, this is hard. I have to pay bills, like so many things that I have to worry about. Like I was tripping because like didn't know how to get my registration for my car. I'm like, what is happening? This is really stressful. I'm like, adulting is really hard. So I feel like these days version of unwinding is rotting. Like I love a good rot. And if you don't know what a rot is, it's basically when you don't move all day. So
Nice.
and Saturday is my rot day because Saturday is my one day off in the week where I don't work out. Like I don't have any work obligation, nothing. My Saturdays are very sacred and I've made it very clear to my team, do not bother me on Saturday.
Love that.
That's why I love Friday night because I can sleep late. I can sleep in on Saturday. I'll wake up probably around like 9:30, 10, and I'll just lay in bed all day.
Look, at Calm here, sleep is such an important part of kind of helping you in your whole health journey and really making sure that, you've got, kind of like a reset for your mental and your physical health. And really that starts a lot of times with a good night's sleep.
I love calm. Like I'm somebody, even when I was younger, my sister would always play like rain
Yeah,
sounds
sure.
fall asleep. And so when I became old enough to like download apps on my phone, Calm was definitely the first one because I always get so nervous between competitions and I always like get so nervous if I have a big thing coming up. Um yeah, so it's always nice to just shut it off and I love the meditation ones too, where it kind of like walks you through on like how to relax and like breaths to take.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
it's obviously outside of constantly using the app for myself, but I love the fact I have two daughters and they're big fans of yours. They're 17 and 14. And I also always encourage them to get a good night's sleep. And so it's a way for them to start off the next day. And I can always tell when they haven't slept well,
Mhm.
right when they wake up. So
Oh yeah. I tell people, I'm like, listen, I only got 7.5 hours of sleep last night, which is, big red flag. I need 8 at least. So like leave me alone.
what are some of the tips that you use to get a good night's sleep?
Some of the tips. Okay, so I travel a lot.
Mhm.
Jet lag is very real for me. So I'll always bring magnesium and I have like my blue light blocking glasses.
Nice.
I'm an iPad kid. I
Yeah.
love on screens. So it's something that kind of lets me unwind and still do what I want to do. Um, and on nights where I am tossing and turning a bit, I will typically like turn the air, the AC on, needs to be cold and
Mhm.
not an ad, but like I would go to my Calm app and pick a story.
Oh, I love that. Welcome, Dr. Morte. We just launched a Calm sleep app, and we found was that we've had over 180 million people who have downloaded the product, but half our users today come to us because they have trouble sleeping at night.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how do you sleep?
Yeah. Well, generally, what I try to do is I try to calm my mind before I actually go to sleep, and I'll usually listen to something that's soothing and musical. Sometimes it's like music that's related to like the prayers that we do as a family. I'll listen to that with my kids, actually, as we drift off to sleep. And increasingly, what we've tried to do is to not check devices in the middle of the night, right? When we get up to get a drink of water or to, use the bathroom.
It's so hard.
It's very, very hard.
Very hard.
It's extremely hard because it's like right there.
Right.
You're like, ooh, did somebody text me? Like an interesting message, right? Like, but part of the way we're doing that is to try to keep the phone physically some distance, like from our bed. But I found that the final thing that has helped me with quality of sleep has actually been being more disciplined about when I go to bed, right? So for a long time, what I would do is I was a night owl, and I would sometimes go to bed at 11, sometimes go to bed at 2, sometimes go to bed at 1, just depending on like how much work I had, et cetera. And then I'd wake up groggy in the morning, and then I would just try to rush into stuff. But what I actually decided to do instead was to say, you know what, I'm gonna go to sleep with my kids when they go to sleep, right? So that means 8:30, 9, I'm gonna go to bed, right? And then I just wake up early. So I wake up around like 4, or so. And then I can go work out in the morning. And that has actually allowed me to work out regularly. So now I work out every day, like in the morning, because I can do it before my day starts, before we have to get the kids ready. And physical activity helps with sleep also, right? So the regular physical activity has made a difference in my sleep. So all of these things together have helped me with sleep. And I will admit that I was one of those people who, when I was young, just thought like, I don't need to sleep. But I was like also getting sick all the time, always getting colds, always like, getting sinus infections, all this stuff. And then finally, like when I started sleeping more, like a decade later, and all those things started to go, it was like, oh, like that wasn't so good for me. Like in the hospital, when I was training David, it was also seen as like a badge of honor to be able to like pull a call night and on no sleep and still like run a code the next morning, and rescue somebody from a cardiac arrest. Like all of these things were seen
Just
as,
that.
yeah, were seen as like, hey, this is cool. And I remember once having to work 60 hours in a row clinically, like in the intensive care unit, and being really proud of myself, being like, hey, walking out of there, be like, yeah, I'm gonna crash, I'm gonna sleep, but like, it was almost like a weekend warrior for like sports. Like this, it almost felt like, and I look back on that, I'm like, that was terrible.
Malala, it's not just the quantity of sleep, it's that quality of sleep, right? And so it's how do you get good quality sleep?
Yeah.
What recommendations do you have for people to get just a good night's sleep and good quality sleep?
Okay, I'll be honest. It's really easy to give advice, but it's hard to follow it yourself. So
So
I
true.
don't want to be like a hypocrite in this because obviously, put your phone away, don't look at screens. And I have heard all of those things. Of course, it's not easy because the reality is very different. And we are all like checking our emails and texting our friends, and we could be in different time zones. So, or we could just have work, like it could be work as well. It can be really challenging. It's just reminding yourself that for you to do well in your work and for you to do well in all the things that you are passionate about, you do need good sleep. So consider sleep as a part of that work. Like don't consider it as like a side thing. And the way I started like thinking about my my sleep and my physical and mental health as part of my work, that was the key moment because I was like, yeah, like, this is all part of it. Why do I feel like the part of me who's doing the work is like, that's the most important part.
Yeah.
She can't do it well. She's not giving her best if she does not get good sleep. So sleep is important. And of course I have used Calm as well. And like, even if it's just,
Yes.
no, yes, I have. And, and like, it has put me to sleep. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
But it's so important for you to have good sleep, and like that's like the most important thing, sleep and then fitness and diet and all of these things. But like if you haven't had enough and good sleep and sufficient sleep, then it's like, again, the battery thing, the battery is not fully charged.
Normally, I like to wake up after 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which is my golden number. Then I like to meditate, and then I like to work out.
Mhm.
Both my cardio, and I now have been doing 1 hour of strength training. And I don't need it every day by any means because normally I'm pretty good at getting the sleep I need, starting my day the way I want to. But it doesn't happen every day for all of us, for many reasons.
You shared something where you even talked about your own collapse from burnout and exhaustion. And I just wanted to ask you, in terms of your own process here for recovery and some of the habits that you had to essentially unlearn along the way to lead a healthier lifestyle.
I wanted to be a super founder at the Huffington Post and a super mom. I had two little girls. I was divorced. I didn't have the luxury. I considered it a luxury to take care of myself, to sleep, to exercise, to eat right. And I collapsed. I hit my head on my desk, broke my cheekbone, which frankly was such a blessing in heavy disguise because I had to interrupt the way I was leading my life.
Mm.
And I started studying the phenomenon of burnout. And I started changing the way I lived. Sleep was my keystone habit that I changed. And the reason I left HuffPost in 2016 to launch Thrive Global It's because I wanted to help people move from awareness to action. By 2016, we had gotten to the point where people kind of agreed. Yes, sleep is important. Yes, eating right is important. But the question was, how do we do it?
Mm. Mm.
And so for that, I couldn't do it through a media company. I had to build a behavior change technology company. And
I
so
love
that's what I did.
I love that. I love that. And as you give tips out to others around this, because you talk to so many people that are out there today, business leaders, your coworkers, your employees, is there one tip that you give them that really sticks in terms of how to take care of themselves from a mental health perspective? Is it around
Yes.
sleep?
No, I think it's really a general mindset shift,
Hmm.
which is to stop seeing well being and recovery as opposite to performance and productivity. Well being is part of peak performance. And David, look at elite athletes. They talk about how they prepare for game day. I've done many conversations with Tom Brady, with Andre Iguodala, who is also an investor in Thrive. And, Andre will tell you that while he was playing, before game day, it's like he had to make sure he got his sleep. He had to make sure he was in a dark room. He had to make sure the temperature was right. He had to make sure he had not eaten too late. He had to make sure he had dealt with his stress. So, what is true for elite athletes is also true for us.
Is there something that you want everyone to know that can help change their relationship with sleep?
Yes. And if I say what I'm going to say, and people think, oh, Ariana, impossible, I can't do that. My response is, don't worry about it. Can you just do it for one night?
Hmm.
We call our micro steps too small to fail. You start somewhere and then you keep adding. So, my most important micro step is to pick a time at the end of your day that you declare the end of your working day. This is it. My working day is done, whatever time. I'm not saying what time. It could be 6 o'clock, it could be 10 o'clock, but this is the end of my working day. And because we are creatures of rituals, you mark the working day by turning off your phone
Ah.
and charging it outside your bedroom.
Hmm.
Now, as I say, 72% of people sleep with their phones on their nightstand or tucked with them in their bed. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying try it for one night because this thing is not really a phone. Nobody calls anyone anymore. It's kind of a repository of every problem and every project and everything we're stressed and anxious about. So it's not enough to put it on aeroplane mode or whatever. You just need to be separated from it. And helping teenage children, older children learn to separate themselves from their phones is key. The only physical product Thrive has launched, happy to send you one, David, is a phone bed. It's a charging station that looks like a bed. It has room for 10 phones and iPads, great for a family. Like if your 13-year-old has a phone, you teach her phone hygiene. Your phone, you say, does not sleep with you. It's not a punishment because your mother's and father's phones don't sleep with them either. That's why you have to set an example. If you have your phone by your bed, your children are much less likely to have their phones by their bed. So I tuck my phone in, I put it under the blanket. There's a nice little silk blanket. You wish it good night and we reconnect in the morning. My phone is charged and I'm fully recharged.
I love that. I love that. Well, I would tell you, and there's something that you just talked about there with sleep. I often talk to a lot of other leaders out there, and you said something really important about being present. I
Yeah.
find that as a leader, if I don't get enough sleep or quality sleep, it's really hard for me to be present with others. Do you find that with yourself that it's hard to be present with others if you don't get a good quality sleep?
Absolutely. I find that if I'm exhausted and depleted because I'm sleep deprived, I'm the worst version of myself.
Mm.
How can I put it? Less empathetic,
Mm.
more reactive, less creative. I kind of drag myself through the day. And also, I find it so important in life to enjoy things, not just to be productive. Joy is key. Like the reason I took the 15 minutes to recharge before our conversation is not just because I wanted to be more alert and present. It's also because I wanted to find the joy in it. I'm enjoying this conversation. And when I'm exhausted, I don't enjoy anything.
Nick, I often tell people so many people who use the product today use us because of sleep. It's really hard to sleep at night. Just curious, what's your relationship with sleep? How well do you sleep at night?
I sleep pretty well. I definitely sleep through just about anything. That's the crazy part.
That's
I'm
awesome.
a hard sleeper, yeah, but it takes me a while to get to bed, admittedly. And I've,
I have an app for
I've
that.
used Calm, and it's been really helpful. I think that much like the cross section of the growth in the technology around, diabetes management and other health tech that's really changed all of our lives. I think that, Calm and others who have found a way for us to get creative with our wind down and even to put our mind at ease and feel less alone, even for some people, I think is a really important thing.
Hi, Karen. I wanted to ask you a question around sleep. We've had a lot of surveys around sleep, how, people used to brag about how little sleep they got. And now many CEOs have agreed the importance of sleep. 81% of them have said it's important to get sleep because it really affects how you can be your best self the next day. My question to you is, how do you sleep? And what are some of the things and tips that you do to have a better night's sleep?
Well, I sleep better now, a lot better now. But I would do like meditation, like listen to meditation before I go to sleep. That always, helped me kind of just calm. I used to be one of those, okay, less sleep, higher productivity. My whole perspective about that has changed. I look at it as a performance strategy. If you're not getting enough sleep, and when I didn't get enough sleep, I was irritable. I wasn't present. So I saw the signs when I wasn't getting enough sleep. But I need sleep. And, I always felt like when I didn't get it, I was tired. I wasn't on my game. And I think when you get enough sleep, you're on your game. And, just look at athletes' performance. They know they sleep. And so I think, there's a lesson learned from athletic performance about sleep. But I read a lot. And so sometimes I'll read before I go to bed. And that helped too.
That's great. That's great. Wow. Great stuff, right? Quality sleep is really foundational, as you know, to our mental health, which is why we launched a new app called Calm Sleep earlier this year. If you haven't already, go check it out and make sure you get some real quality rest this holiday season. I am so grateful for our amazing guests and this whole behind the scenes crew that made everything possible on Recharge. I want to thank Chris, I want to thank Lindsay, I want to thank Lisa, Bennett, and Brian. Hey, leave us a comment. If you have any sleep tips, I could use them. Please subscribe to this podcast and like this episode so you'll be the first to know when season 3 drops. Until then, happy holidays, sweet dreams, and don't forget to recharge.